So the topic for us is millets for SDGs. Okay, millets for Sustainable Development Goals. Transformation from food to nutritional security. So please understand that we have to deliberate upon Sustainable Development Goals and the role of millets in the context of Sustainable Development Goals. And then it is very emphatic that we need to transit from food to nutritional security. So before I call upon our esteemed panelists here, I will share the context in 1 or 2 minutes. Why are we now talking about transiting from food to nutritional security? There must be some meaning. Honestly, food security means nutrition security. Food is a source of nutrition. Unfortunately, in our country, as in many other countries, food has come to mean carbohydrate security. The way the production basket has been designed, has been implemented, we have grown those sources of food which are primarily giving us carbohydrates, and the other sources which are necessary to meet other components of nutrition have been neglected. The reason is that we were forced to adopt a particular technology, and that technology was relating to a few select cereals which are dominant in respect of carbohydrates. Second, and more important, was that the technology adopted has been a reaction, it has not been a response. The difference between reaction and response is, in reaction, you are trying to douse the fire. There is a fire, your house is on fire, you want to douse it at any cost. We had food deficiency bordering on famine in 1960s. We had to do something. The only option available was improved seeds of wheat and paddy. Wheat from Mexico, paddy from Erie, Philippines. We adopted, we found success, and we have continued with that. A response means you are being more rational. You are weighing alternate options, and then you will choose what is best in terms of not one factor but several factors, not just to meet food sufficiency, but also what does it mean for your ecology, what does it mean for nutrition. So we have only reacted and not responded. So what is the result today? India is ranking almost at the bottom on the health statistics. There is so much of hidden hunger. Now let us look at some of the indicators. Maternal mortality rate, one of the highest. Stunted growth, one of the highest. Wasted growth, one of the highest. Infant mortality rate, one of the highest. And juxtaposed with this is a food surplus in wheat, paddy, and a few commodities. So this is an irony. One side you have surplus, farmers not getting good prices. On the other side you have consumers who are suffering from hidden hunger. So it is in this context that we have begun to talk, let's transit from food security to nutrition security to highlight the importance of balancing nutrition for the consumers. So nutrition are broadly divided as macronutrients and micronutrients. In the macronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins and fats are the candidates. Under the micronutrients we have vitamins, minerals and amino acids. So these 6 are essential for a good health. And health, as defined commonly, is absence of disease. But this is not a good definition. We need to have a positive definition of health. That health is that health where body, mind and soul of the human being are in balance. Therefore, we have to talk about meeting the nutrients. So now our four panelists will tell us what do we do to ensure nutrition security, which essentially means food security, and what does it mean in the context of sustainable development goals. So now I will start with the Dr. Govindraj is not here, no? Yeah. So I will first start with Dr. Raj Bhandari, who has been one of the very avid and passionate promoter of millets at the particular level, but more importantly, I know that he's more concerned about nutrition. So he's been going around the world talking about nutrition and millets. So I would now request Dr. Raj Bhandari to share his thoughts, and we will have 10 minutes each, and thereafter we'll have a Q&A session so that we give the audience some opportunity to ask you questions. Thank you, Dr. Raj.
Thank you, Ashok. It's a pleasure to be sharing the... Yeah. I hope I'm audible. Right. So, coming straight to the topic, I think humanity is at a crossroad between a humanitarian crisis as well as a climate crisis. And while we are trying to link up this thing with the sustainable development goals, to my mind, I believe that food, nutrition, good health, elimination of poverty, zero hunger, all these are very unifying factors. What Ashok mentioned in the morning, that partnerships, collaboration is important, the SDG 17. I propose that we also have a healthy competition between states, what has been presented during the day. When we talk of targets and indicators, they are measurable. We can measure all these. And when we measure in tangible terms, we are able to define which state is doing well, how do we make progress, learn from each other. So in that sense, a healthy competition would be very good. Now the world is moving towards One Health. That means the health of the planet, the health of our soil, the health of human beings. We have an ecosystem within our body, and this ecosystem within the body has to be in sync with the external ecosystem of the environment. And unless and until this sync, what you mentioned as the body, mind and soul, we would not be able to harness the positive energy and the potential of human beings. We believe that that day is not far when humans will live up to the age of 120 years. And if we are able to tweak our body system, metabolism, because it's all metabolism, most fundamental unit or organelle in a cell is mitochondria. And I describe it as 5 M's, which influence our body health: the micronutrients, the macronutrients, the metabolome, and those functions at the mitochondrial level which happen in the cell. That determines our health actually. So as you all know that food security, nutrition security, and we have to move with millets towards therapeutic benefits of millets, the functional foods. And that is what impresses me most about millets, the functionality of this vital grain. And these grains, the panorama of colors that these grain offers. I think no other cereal would offer so many hues and colors, and I call them colors of health. Uh, so there is a tremendous need to bring about the body of evidence and preclinical and clinical research to validate our claim for the goodness of millets in terms of health benefits. So nutrition, we have spoken enough about the nutrient density, the iron, calcium, folate and all. Let me mention, for example, folate in bajra is very rich, and we can prevent large number of NTDs, the neural tube defects which happen in children. And as a pediatrician, now I view everything from a lens of public health. So what is it that really influences our, infant mortality or child mortality? Therefore, one example, there was a group of scientists who met in Seattle, and what they found was that 1 in 2 persons on this planet is malnourished. And the image of malnourishment, is right from a child born low birth weight, wasted, stunted, deficient in micronutrients, you call any micro, iron, calcium, vitamin D, B12, anything. And then the other end of the spectrum of non-communicable diseases, where even, cardiovascular, dyslipidemia, other metabolic syndrome, and obesity is also a disease. So all this falls under the spectrum of malnutrition. It is not only undernutrition we are talking about. And therefore, it becomes important that and what this group found was that the risk factors for mortality and morbidity of diseases, 7 out of 10 were diet related. Now that is very, very worrisome. If our diet is not healthy and proper, of course other things, exercise and all matters, but 7 of those risk factors out of 10 were diet related. So I would really bring to the point that food is thy medicine, true. But this was true in the olden era, olden times. Now, all food is not your medicine. What matters is how that food is made, how that food is processed, because that same food could be poison also. If you have junk food, we find high salt, high sugar, high in trans fats. All these are poisons for the body, and therefore, it is for the food processing industry, we have to be very careful that the food that we produce with millets has to be minimally processed with minimal addition of preservatives or additives or emulsifiers or other chemical agents. That has to really, we have to be cognizant of that fact that how we make that food is important. And finally, we have to create a USP for millets, which is a unique selling proposition, a very compelling reason why people should switch over to millets. Ultimately, nutrition is a behavior, and one of the most difficult behavior to change is nutrition after the sexual behavior. And therefore, to bring about that change in our behavior, it is good that during the Green Revolution, millets did not receive any attention. It is very good. And why I say so is because what happened is, if we had the dwarf varieties or other varieties for producing wheat, hybrid wheat, high yield wheat and all, there was an intense use of pesticides and fertilizers. Fortunately, millets did not come into that, and there was no intervention done for millets. So now we are on a level playing field where we can, the ill effects that were born due to pesticides and fertilizers, which have really eroded the soil health. Now we are back into that time that we could do that good to our planet with use of millets. Thank you so much.
Give him a big hand. Thank you, Dr. Raj. So you have stressed on the need for good agriculture practices, sustainable practices, so that we are able to produce pesticide residue free, nutritious, biofortified grains. And the very important point you have stressed is the One Health approach. Since the entire ecosystem is organically linked, different components are organically linked: human life, domestic animal life, forests, plants, wildlife, and the general ecology in general. So we have to take care of every single component. Only then can we ensure the health of the entire ecosystem. Thank you very much. And of course, you have gone deep down to the mitochondrial level, and that's where you are talking about the good health originates. We take those points home, and I'm sure people have a lot of questions on that. So thank you very much. So I think it is now time for us to move from one gentleman to a lady, so that you have some difference in listening. Okay, so I will now call upon our scientist, principal scientist, okay, to Dr. Satyavati to share her thoughts. And I've heard you many a time. You are an expert in this domain. I'm sure you'll be able to share very great insights into this. Madam, yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon to all, and thank you, IMR, for giving me this opportunity. As rightly put forth in this technical session, moving from transformation from food security to nutritional security, and rightly said by the chairman and the panelists now, I move on to the next points which I want to put in front of you. As rightly mentioned, and as we all know that millets are climate resilient nutri-cereals and are the ones which can be grown on marginal lands with very little and meager inputs and less rainfall and all these things. Millets are the powerhouses and the food of the future. So millets are rich powerhouses of nutrients, minerals, and many other things. As rightly pointed out, millets, especially millets like bajra, they are rich in iron and zinc. Ragi, rich in calcium, and other millets are also rich in other respective elements in little more quantities than we find in other cereals. Now, when we are talking of moving from nutritional security to, from food security to nutritional security, it is not the point that we just speak on. We have to have some points where we take home and we try to implement and get the result. So one such effort we have done in case of pearl millet at All India Coordinated Research Project on pearl millet. We know that there is good amount of iron and zinc in pearl millet, and already studies have been made by Harvest Plus and other research institutes across the country and the world. And they also have come out with some products. And there was a system where they thought that we should come out with very high quantities of iron and zinc. But when we have gone in depth into the studies, and we could find out that though we are gaining high iron and zinc, but sometimes we are losing yield. We don't want to have it at the cost of the yield. We don't have to have the yield penalty. So what we have come out is, we said that since we have this much amount of iron and zinc in bajra, so let us see that in our coordinated trial evaluation process, along with the yield parameters, we should include nutritional parameters. like iron and zinc, and we have set a benchmark level of minimum quantity of 42 ppm for iron and 32 ppm zinc. Don't confuse that this is the biofortified highest limit. No, we are saying minimum level. Setting a maximum level is different and setting a minimum level is different. So when we deal with the entries in the evaluation process, generally we look for yield and then diseases and other yield parameters. That's all. But when we started including these micronutrients along with the yield parameters, there was a hue and cry. Though we found out there is a big amount of variability for these two elements, but when we try to combine these micronutrients along with yield, that means there is a lot of research which has to be taken out by the researchers and other partners who are involved in this. And I wanted to put in front of this house that this is the first crop in the world where minimum benchmark levels for quality parameters of iron and zinc were set, and no other crop till date has it, sir. So from 2017 onwards till date, we have come out with a number of hybrids, nearly 35 hybrids with minimum of 42 ppm iron and 32 ppm zinc. More than that we have, but these are the minimum levels. So friends, when we talk of transforming from food security to nutritional security, we should see how we integrate them into our regular practice. This is one. Today morning Dr. Dalwai sir has mentioned about the sustainable development goals, and others also has spoken about sustainability development goals. And just now in the previous session, Madam from Karnataka, she also has said that these millets are named as Siridhanya, indicating wealth, wellness and all these things. So if you look into these things, cultivation of these millets and processing and then putting them into mainstreaming them, this will definitely eradicate poverty. That is nothing but we are trying to achieve sustainability goal number 1, that is SDG 1, no poverty. Then zero hunger, that is SDG 2, where we are trying to eliminate by use of these millets, because these are rich in micronutrients which are directly are trying to reduce hidden hunger. And by this way, we are also trying to improve the overall health and well-being of the people, where again we are targeting the SDG number 3. And then we are also, when we are trying to improve our food habits, when we are talking of One Health, that means we are trying to consume in a responsible manner and also try to improve not only our external environment, we are also trying to improve our internal environment. So that is what is leading to SDG number 12, that is responsible consumption and production. And we are all well aware that these are the climate resilient crops, and these are the answer for the future uncertainties of the climate vagaries. And so again, cultivation and promotion of these millets is going to be addressing the SDG number 13. And very well mentioned today morning by Dr. Dalwai sir, again SDG number 17, that is global partnership. And if we go back to our roots, we all know that we Indians believe in the Sanskrit verse, that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are all one. We are all here to support each other. That is where we have to come up with a global partnership, and that is how not only just targeting the production and productivity, only food security, we are going towards nutritional security. Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity.
Please don't be stingy with your clappings. It doesn't cost anything. You should appreciate. Thank you, Madam Satyavati. See, you have stressed very well on how to reconcile. One of the problems of our green revolution has been this, that we have focused so much on yield levels were not looked at the nutrient content. And genetically, normally one works against the other. So we have paid the cost of nutrition for high yields. Now we have enough food with us, we have the luxury, so we can respond. So as Dr. Satyavati rightly said, they have been able to come out through experimentation as to what is the minimal optimal level of iron and zinc that can be built into the system without a penalty on the yield, because yield also is that much more important. अदरवाइज ऐसा होगा कि अमीर लोगों का खाना बन जाएगा, ये जो पैसा दे सकते हैं जैसे शहर में होता है ऐसा हो जाएगा. हम तो चाहते हैं कि गरीब लोगों में ज़्यादा पहुंचाना इसको. न्यूट्रिशन डेफिशिएंसी उनमें ही है. द रिच पीपल आर सफरिंग फ्रॉम लाइफ स्टाइल डेफिशिएंसीज, डायबिटीज, obesity, etc. But the poor are suffering from actual nutrition deficiency. Kwashiorkor, worker, one of the most manifest nutrition deficiency. So this is a very important point that you have brought out, and I think that's a message to all scientists and policy makers. How do we combine the two in such a way that we don't cause penalty of one? So thank you very much, and we shall move on to the next speaker. So now, madam, with your permission, I'll shift to the gentleman, so you can come at last. Yeah. So I'll request Dr. Venkatesh Bhatt, another well-known scientist from the Indian Institute of Millet Research, to share his thoughts. So Dr. Bhatt, it's yours now. Thank you.
Respected Chairman, distinguished panelists, and august audience who are experts in their own areas related to millet production, processing, consumption, and utilization. So, we have been talking about the food security as well as nutrition security. So, when we move from MDGs to SDGs, so we have also included many criteria other than poverty and hunger. So now we talk of zero hunger, where malnutrition is a part of it. But from a millet perspective, I wish to put forth several points, and also some of them from a research perspective. So when you say millets, so we know it is almost a foregone conclusion that they are rich in nutrition, so we call them nutricerials. Then they are also climate resilient, and they support sustainable agriculture. One of the main reasons why still we have the small millets in the food chain in the rural area is because they support sustainable agriculture. And then importantly, another criteria is the integrated agriculture, where the field production along with the animal husbandry part goes hand in hand, because millets provide not only the grain, they also provide fodder. So from all these point of view, you see that millets not only provide food security and nutrition security, they also provide much more. So if the role is so important, so from a research point of view, I wish to raise some of the points, because when it comes to millets, the food security is still not addressed, I should say. The cost of production of 1 kilo rice and cost of production of 1 kilo millet, if you compare, the cost of production of millet is higher. So the basic reason being the productivity, or the cost of production per unit area is lesser compared to that of rice or wheat. So this is the basic grassroots level difference, which is translating into higher cost of millet products, because millets are beset with other problems of processing, shelf life, and so on. So the important criteria is breaking yield barriers. So here again we have to make a distinction between the major millets and the minor millets or small millets. So when we talk of nutrition, the real jewels are the minor millets. They are rich in fiber, they are rich in protein content, they have many minerals, and if you come to bajra and ragi and sorghum, they are benefited by way of hybrid, availability of hybrid seeds and all those things. And from a research point of view, I should say, we don't see any deterioration of nutrient content in hybrids compared to varieties. Okay, what is the difference that farmers say our traditional varieties are good and present ones are not good? So there are only two differences which I can say. One is the secondary metabolites. What Dr. Raj Bhandari said, the color. The color is because of secondary metabolites which may be adding to antioxidants or some defense mechanisms which is really imparting a flavor, imparting a color and also a taste. So this is basically a difference, and in some cases it could be a texture also. So these are the main things which make a improved variety or a hybrid less acceptable. And another thing is the other reduction, maybe reduction in height or maybe reduction in fodder, so which is making it unacceptable from farmer point of view. Then when it comes to consumer point of view, we have three major problems which are again very complex. It is beyond the purview of this discussion. One is the acceptability of consumer, which depends on convenience to prepare or cook and convenience to consume, and also the taste. And the second thing is the affordability, and the third thing is availability. See, these three are the main factors, and we need to work on this, and these are all researchable issues. And another important thing is when we say these are nutri-cereals, there is always a comparison with wheat and rice. When we say they are rich in nutrients, are the nutrients really available? What is the bioavailability? These questions are asked because we are projecting this as alternate grains. So this needs to be addressed in a very comprehensive way. These are the points which everyone knows, and it has been talked about every year, and but we don't see any efforts, any major efforts taken in this regard, and these are the important things to be addressed. Then look at, from when you talk of food and nutrition, you also look at rice and wheat. Nowadays, we also look at those crops which are having, say, we have brown rice, we have black rice, which are again rich in antioxidants or some other nutritional factors. And most important thing is during the Green Revolution, when we have industrialized processing of rice, we are losing all the nutrition content from the rice hull, and which is again happening in millets. So what is the difference, and what is the optimal criteria for processing that we need to have in millets? Is it that we want a millet as white as rice, or we have to make a compromise? So this is also an issue to be researched crop by crop, machine by machine, and maybe by region by region. Then another important thing I wish to highlight is how much of the millets which are being produced are really going for food. So how much of say kharif jowar and bajra are going for food, and how much is going for feed? So if the feed is a more organized industry than food, where the demand may be less volatile, are we really going to have a good price for these millets? So this is another issue which needs to be highlighted. And another important issue, because again coming from research point of view, is we need to identify the sources of input nutrition, because when we say of biofortified varieties, okay, we already, if our crops are having very good levels of minerals which are essential, then how we really go to improvement, improve it unless we have a source. So what is the variation in the germplasm or even in the farmer varieties? These things have not been looked into, and they need to be looked into so that we can really improve the nutrition by scientific crop improvement. And then finally, so is it that we are increasing yield at the cost of nutrition? So by far this has not been addressed, though there has been no scientific data to support that. But to rule that argument forever, we need to generate data. And I think these are some of the suggestions I wish to make on this occasion. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Venkatesh. See, Dr. Venkatesh has drawn attention to two important points. One is about the cost of production. Cost of production and cost per hectare are two different parameters. When you say cost of production, that is dependent on the yield. Suppose we get 20 quintals per hectare and we get 10 quintals per hectare, the cost of production is different. So if you increase the yield level per hectare by being more efficient in use of resources, then the cost per quintal comes down. So the Commission on Costs and Agriculture Prices, CACP, always calculates cost of production. So you will find, I'm just explaining this because some of you may not be aware of it. Many states keep saying why MSP is single for the entire country. We have only one MSP for the entire country. Why? Then Odisha and Punjab will compare. Per hectare paddy yield in Punjab is 5.2 tons per 52 quintals. In Odisha it is 2.7 tons, 27 quintals. So the cost of production for a Odisha farmer is double compared to that in the Punjab state. But MSP is one. So our answer always is improve your resource use efficiency. Use new technology. It may be easier said than done, but that's the purpose. That means we must increase our productivity by better technology, better seeds, better varieties, better water management. So Dr. Bhatt has drawn attention to improving the productivity level so that the cost of production comes down. And when the cost of production comes down, we have better profits, better savings, and therefore the farmer in the subsequent season is able to invest in new technology. More important, this Dr. Bhatt, I think, has drawn attention to one thing which all of you must keep in mind. We keep saying that our Nutri cereals are rich in nutrients, very good in iron, zinc, calcium, protein, fat, calories, everything. In fact, on some of the parameters, they are much better than wheat and paddy. Issue is that available to the consumer? So that is the issue of bioavailability. So this is a very important factor. It may be available there in the water may be available in the well, but you may not be able to lift the water. That is bioavailability. So I think we need to really also focus on bioavailability of nutrients. Is very, very important if we want to transition from food security to nutrition security. So these are two important things among many good points that is brought out. You may like to not raise issues. Some of you may be very knowledgeable in this. You may like to share your thoughts. That's the purpose I'm highlighting. Fine, thank you very much. And we come to the last panelist of the day. So we have Dr. Aruna, who is a principal scientist at the Indian Institute of Millets Research. Madam, it's yours now. You may like to share some other aspects of the level. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, respected chairman and my fellow panelists. And the points put forth are really very good. I agree with all of them. I don't want to repeat any one of them because you already highlighted the importance of the millets and the important nutrition of the walk towards nutrition is everything is discussed. But I would like to put forth this point in a little different perspective. Like, yeah, as you said, sir, bioavailability, that is very important. Another thing is, we are talking about taking millets as food, that is one thing. On another hand, we are saying convenience foods, because why we lost demand for millets is the preparation is difficult. That is one of the aspects. So we are working towards the convenience foods. Many of the private companies, many companies are into that. Now, while processing the lines are primary or processing, secondary processing, how much of the nutrients we are losing, that is one important aspect we may have to look into it. So finally, what we are taking in, are we getting the nutrients that the small millets are supposed to give to us? That is one important thing we have to look into it. At IIMR and also again the AACRP, we are working for specific end products. We are trying to develop varieties which suits for the specific use. Like we say, for example, I will quote the example of sorghum. Sorghum can be used for diabetic patients, and we also say it is good for weaning foods, but there the requirements are different. In the weaning side, we need which can be digested easily, the food which can be digested easily. On the other hand, for the diabetic patients, we need food which is slow digest. Yeah. So the varieties which are suited for different uses are different. So we have to identify the varieties basically for specific use. That's what we have been working at IIMR. So we branding them and cultivating them in a cluster wise, so that the production is also good. So we are working for a specific end use varieties. Even for popping, we have varieties which can pop well. So that also there are, can go for food. Like when we have walked towards nutritional security, it is very difficult to replace rice or wheat all of a sudden. Nobody can do that. So how we can go? We can suggest one meal at least a day should include the millets. Like we have varied options, like we have breakfast foods. We also have the foods for lunch. We can make different types of rices. Maybe dinner would be, we may not be able to accept in the dinner because their digestion would be difficult. Maybe for breakfast and lunch, we can think of at least 1 or 3 meals in a week to start with, or then or 1 meal in a day. So like that, we can slowly include millet food into our regular diet, and we can improve our health that way. That is one thing I wanted to say. And there are some key issues, sir. Yeah, we can make different products, but the thing is, what is the nutrient, like during primary processing, what is that nutrient loss? And profiling, nutrition profiling of the varieties. That is one important thing which we have been looking for. So these varieties, what are all the things that are available in different millets? For all the millets we have been working. And once it is done, I think it gives a very clear picture of which millet can be used by whom. Like that also we can maybe work it out. And then biofortification, as Dr. Tara was saying, this work we have initiated in sorghum also. In our AACRP trials, we have fixed the minimum levels of iron and zinc for promotion of varieties, so that the varieties which come out of that for release and other things, they will have a minimum level of iron and zinc that is required for our food. And then another aspect is the red sorghums. We have not been releasing red sorghum so far, red color. In sorghum we have red and yellow types also, but so far only white color sorghum varieties were released. Now under AACRP we are giving emphasis for the colored ones, because the literature says, and even there are many studies which have shown that antioxidant activities, and the non-communicable diseases like cancer and other things can be brought under control by these millets in general and sorghum in particular, red sorghum in particular. So we have started work in that direction also. Red sorghum, one variety is almost ready for release, and even other types like yellow sorghums also have high beta carotene in that. So those are also, we are promoting different diverse types of varieties in that for different uses. That is one thing. As Dr. Bhatt was saying, it's not just grain, even fodder is important. Especially when we say in Indian agriculture, both the agriculture and animal husbandry, they go together. And sorghum, the store is all the more important. So along with that grain fodder, how it can be like, the thing is, when we have to increase the production and productivity, we have to go for the non-traditional areas. For example, sorghum is being grown in the rice fallow systems to increase the productivity to get that. But in Andhra Pradesh, in Tenali area specifically. But those people are not interested in that fodder. So they are just either burning it or doing that. But if the farmers are trained to use that as to make it as blocks or send somewhere where the fodder deficit is there. So that way they can earn some more on that, and that is useful for the animal husbandry also. So here what by end specific use varieties, we would like to say that farmers should get the best returns per unit area, what we get. So the product, how much product, useful product we can get from the hectare is our emphasis. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think Dr. Aruna has really brought out many very good points. It only goes to show that what we as audience must appreciate, that things are complex, it's not so simple. It looks very easy on the face of it, but if you go to tier 2, you know how complex it is. She had given a very bright example of same commodity is needed to walk towards north, and we expect it to walk towards south also. So there are many complexities. So they are doing research on these aspects. We are happy to know. That means we are on the right track. We are getting prepared for that. That's very well brought out. And so now we'll open the house to discussions. You may ask questions for clarification, or you may like to extrapolate certain things or expand on these things. So just share your name briefly and be very concise so that the speaker is able to respond to that. Okay, madam, yours. Thank you.
Yeah, a very good evening to everyone. I'm Dr. Jagmeet Madan. I'm the National President of Indian Dietetic Association, and also head of an institution, a premier institution with the, we have a very strong department of food, nutrition and dietetics. I just want to add to the discussion, and especially to the point of what you very rightly said, that yes, we want millets to be there, millets to be used. We know the virtues of millets, but is the consumer getting what actually we are valuing the millets for? I see, and I'm so heartened to see so many startups coming up with so many different kinds of products. But somewhere as a nutritionist, every time I ponder to think that are we also looking at, the product from a 360 degrees? I know if I'm making a bakery product, I can't do away with some amount of fat, some amount of, refined flour. Can I, or if I'm making a idli mix, or if I'm making a dosa mix, can I add the positive ingredients to the same preparation so that I get the goodness of the millet and I also give the goodness of the additional ingredients? Because I feel again as a nutrition scientist that we cannot look at a food in isolation. Because at the end of the day, we are here to provide solution to people at large. And we want people to be using it, starting from the lower to the higher socioeconomic strata. So somewhere that connect of millet with other ingredients, like we talk of food to food fortification. So we've done something like that, you know. I mean, you fortify millets with other food, so that in totality, what you're trying to get, whether it's the GI decrease, blunting of the glycemic response, whether it's the nutrient, density. So I think all these things are very, very important. And I think as scientists and all stakeholders here, I'm so heartened that all of us want to make products out of millets, but we need to look at it, from a different perspective, that at the end of the day, what are we delivering to the consumer? So that's a big question mark.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Good point. Very good point. So, yes, इसके बाद वही क्वेश्चन उसी पर है या इसका आंसर देने दीजिए, इसके बाद आप कहेंगे. Yes, डॉक्टर साहब.
What Jagmeet has brought out is important. No grain is perfect. There is a limiting factor with millets, that it is deficient in lysine. It is rich in methionine and threonine, which are sulfur containing amino acids, but it is deficient in lysine. That could be complemented by adding legumes, and so that the essential amino acids which have to be taken from outside food can be and are essential for growth. So that would be a complementary thing. So a good mix of millets and legumes is important. The second point is with regard to bioavailability, and it is true that there are anti-nutrients in millets also, and therefore the bioavailability. But we had a debate in National Institute of Nutrition, and we debated this point as to, so to my mind, the bioavailability can be altered by processing. I mean, malting, simply malting can increase the bioavailability of iron to 300%, meaning thereby, if we choose the right types and varieties, sorghum would have 4 milligram percent to 17 milligram percent of iron. That is the kind of variation in the iron content. So if we choose the right variety, the right type, I think that would be a good choice to make. And processing techniques, soaking and all, they remove the micronutrient. But there is a lot of interest in gut health, and the slow digesting starch, the resistant starch, and the fiber content of millet is very high, and that prevents the leaky gut syndrome. And therefore the bioavailability, if you improve the gut health, it would be increased. Also the microbiota flora would be modulated with use of millets.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we'll give you a chance. This is a very important issue, madam, you raised. So I think we'll spend a little time on this. In fact, I will request both Dr. Satyavati and Dr. Varuna to say this, explore further. You have given a very good answer. Dr. Satyavati would talk about bioavailability. And then, since you were talking a lot about the combinations, I think you can also share one or two sentences on how to make it complementary. Yeah? Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Coming to the point of bioavailability, a question was raised that whether their available amount is totally available to the human system. Yes, there will be some losses when you process the food and take the food. But in case of pearl millet, I can give examples. When people started developing these biofortified products, there was again many questions put out. You are straight away increasing the iron content in the product. Do you think it is really available to the system? Whether the human system will be able to take it? Yes, there were some certain experiments conducted and studied. In some Karnataka, in some of the schools, they have taken adolescent girl children adolescents, then they have fed them with the biofortified pearl millet roti every day for a couple of months. So before the onset of the experiment, they have taken the blood samples of these adolescent children, and after continuous feeding of biofortified pearl millet for about couple of months, then they have again taken the blood samples of the same children. Then they could see that there is a significant amount of increase in the hemoglobin. That means the food, the product you are giving to these children, which is made from the biofortified pearl millet, is fed. That means there is some amount of iron which is being absorbed by the blood. That means enhancing the micronutrient content in these products is definitely helpful. And how much and what is the percentage of the bioavailability of the particular ingredient in a particular variety again depends on a number of factors, including the genetics. So we should have a right kind of mix and right kind of processing and right kind of cooking, so that whatever efforts we are making to increase or enhance those micronutrients, they'll be made available. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. So, Dr. Aruna, please, yeah.
Yes, ma'am, I agree with you that no food is perfect, as Dr. Sab also told. No food is complete. So here the fortification, like some of the processes what we do while working with millets also, like fermentation for idli making this thing, that improves the digestibility there, improves the availability of the nutrients. Not only that, even the pops which are made, they make some changes in the starch gelatinization, and the availability increases, bioavailability also increases there. The second thing is, even our institute and the NutriHub is working foods in combination with like mushroom and combination with horticultural crops. So we need to look for that combination of foods also, not just millets alone. You can add other foods and make it more nutritious.
Thank you very much. I think we have, आएंगे हमारा उमेंद्र जी, he was our member of the, welcome to that. He has worked as an organic farming committee member also in our ministry. So he has got a lot to say on this. आप पूछिए या कहिए.
हाँ, मैं थोड़ी टिप्पणी और कुछ प्रश्न है. जब राज भंडारी जी बोल रहे थे तो हमें लग रहा था हमारे आंदोलन का कोई व्यक्ति बोल रहा है. तो बहुत बहुत बधाई, और हम आपको चाहेंगे आप पंजाब हरियाणा में आके कुछ जरा आशीर्वाद दीजिए, अच्छा लगेगा बहुत. क्योंकि न्यूट्रिटिव डिफेक्ट की कोई बात करता नहीं, आपने की, और पेस्टिसाइड्स के इम्पैक्ट के कारण पंजाब उसको बहुत भारी मात्रा में झेल रहा है. मैं अशोक जी ये कहूँगा कि हम कहते होते हैं कि खेती वही जो भोजन दे और भोजन वही जो पोषण दे. अब जो खेती भोजन नहीं दे सकती तो वो खेती नहीं है. अब पंजाब के लोग चावल उगाते हैं, गेहूं उगाते हैं, पर पंजाब की दुकानों पे या आटे की चक्कियों पे बोर्ड लगे हैं कि यहाँ मध्य प्रदेश की गेहूं बिकती है. तो पंजाब के लोग गेहूं उगाते हैं, कहीं और देते हैं, खुद मध्य प्रदेश की गेहूं खाना चाहते हैं. पंजाब के लोग बहुत चावल उगाते हैं, पूरे देश को चावल खिलाते हैं, पर जिन घरों में चलता है, क्षमता है या संपर्क है, आप उनके घर में जाओगे तो वो कहेंगे आपको प्रेम से कि ये बासमती पंजाब का नहीं, दून वैली का है. तो आप उगा रहे हो, फिर खुद खाना नहीं है, तो जानते हैं वो पेस्टिसाइड के कारण अब जो हालत हुई है. तो मुझे लगता है कि उसी कारण पंजाब की दृष्टि से तो इसकी मिलेट्स की बहुत बड़ी भूमिका है. और जो आपने SDGs गोल्स की बात की, मैं उनकी डिटेल में नहीं जाऊंगा. पंजाब के लिए वो जो भी फिट बैठते हैं, मिलेट्स बहुत बड़ी भूमिका निभा सकते हैं. पानी की एक बात है, वो आपने कही है. मैं एक दूसरी बात कहूंगा, वो है पराली जलाने का मुद्दा. हर साल NGT से लेकर सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक डंडा लेके घूमती है, हम भी उस पर काम करते हैं. जहां जहां मिलेट्स उग जाते हैं वहां वहां पराली जलाने का झंझट खत्म हो जाता है, क्योंकि बड़ा अच्छा चारा वो पशुओं के लिए होता है. और हम इसका एक अल्टरनेटिव टू द पैडी, जो कम से कम पंजाब और हरियाणा की बड़ी बेल्ट है, पंजाब हरियाणा राजस्थान की, उसमें कहते पैडी जबरदस्ती आ गई है. आप मिलेट्स पे जाएंगे तो ये उसे छूट मिल सकती है. तो सब मुझे लगता है कि राज जी को मैं कहना चाहूँगा कि राज जी, ये जो क्या हॉस्पिटल्स में, या जैसे आप पेडियाट्रिशियन हैं, तो क्या पेडियाट्रिक सर्जन या पेडियाट्रिशियंस जो हैं वो अपनी जब वो प्रिस्क्राइब करते हैं तो उसमें क्या मिलेट्स ये किसी ढंग से वो पेडियाट्रिक एसोसिएशन ऑफ इंडिया कर करा के ऐसा कुछ हो सकता है क्या? वो अगर आए तो प्रेग्नेंट लेडी के लिए भी, लैक्टिंग मदर के लिए भी और बच्चे के लिए भी, तीनों के लिए वो अच्छा होगा। ये कहीं ना कहीं शामिल करना चाहिए। अशोक जी, एक मुझे लगता है कि ये बायोफोर्टिफिकेशन एक विचित्र मुद्दा है। हमें डर लगता है ये लॉन्ग टर्म स्टडीज क्या हुई हैं, क्या कितने साल की स्टडीज हुई है, और जो जीन सेट होने होते प्रकृति ने करोड़ों लाखों साल लिए, आप उसको 2-4-10 साल में उसको सेट करके आप दे रहे हो, उसका एडवर्स इम्पैक्ट आपके और मेरे जीवन के बाद होगा तो कौन करेगा? नंबर 1। नंबर 2, ये पॉलिनेशन सेंसिटिव क्रॉप है। आपने एक बार उनको हाइब्रिडेशन कर दिया तो हमारा देसी बाजरा, देसी भी सब कुछ चला जाएगा। और बहुत लोग देसी मांगते हैं कि हमको नहीं चाहिए हाइब्रिड। देखिए, मैं ये बाजरे की अगर बात करूं तो देसी बाजरे हम लापसी बनाते हैं, आपने कभी अगर सुनी हुई तो लापसी जो है, जो देसी बाजरे की बनती है, हाइब्रिड वैसी कुछ नहीं बनती। तो वो तो फिर जब आपने हाइब्रिड कर दिया वो तो सारा कुछ बायो कंटेमिनेशन होगा उसमें। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अशोक जी, हमें ये न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी के प्रति इतना ऑब्सेशन क्यों होता है? ये न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी के चक्कर में, ये ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी थी सर। उसने वही कहा था कि आप ये जो बीटी कॉटन आया, मैं विषयांतर नहीं करूंगा, एक लाइन में कहूंगा, मैंने खुद सुना कृषि वैज्ञानिकों को बोलते हुए कि बीटी कॉटन आएगा तो किसान की पीठ पे जो पेस्टिसाइड स्प्रे करने वाली ढोलकी है वो उतर जाएगी। सर वो नहीं उतरी, 10 साल बाद वापस आ गई है, देसी बीज भी चला गया, आपका वो जो पेस्ट है वो भी रेजिस्टेंट हो गया और पेस्टिसाइड भी वापस आ गया। तो ये मुझे लगता है कि खतरनाक एक बात हो सकती है। हर नई चीज के बारे में थोड़ा सोच, और खासतौर पे जो प्रकृति में चीज सेटल हुई है धीरे धीरे, आप उसमें अगर करेंगे तो ये। और आखिरी मैं ये बात कहूंगा, ये आप NNCC आप दक्षिण में कर रहे हैं, मुझे लगता है पंजाब हरियाणा में ज्यादा जरूरत है, और आप अगर वहां करेंगे तो ज्यादा भला होगा। हमारा पानी भी गया। और मैं आखिरी बात ये कहूंगा कि हमने ये मिलेट्स खिला के पंजाब में सैकड़ों लोगों का की डायबिटीज ठीक की है, ब्लड प्रेशर ठीक किया है, लिवर सोराइसिस ठीक किया होगा। मैं लंबी चौड़ी जानकारियां दे सकता हूं, और वो है तो ये इसके लिए बहुत बड़ी वो है भूमिका है। तो मैं आपका आभारी हूं कि आप थोड़ा उत्तर के बारे में सोचेंगे तो अच्छा लगेगा। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद आपको। आपने बहुत सारे मुद्दा उठाया है। आपका कहने का एक मतलब है कि खाली वैरायटीज मात्र नहीं, प्रोडक्शन एनवायरनमेंट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती है, वो तो हम ज़रूर याद रखेंगे। गुड एग्रीकल्चर प्रैक्टिसेस आवश्यक है वैरायटीज़ के साथ साथ। ये जितने हमारे एग्रोनॉमिस्ट्स हैं उनको इसके बारे में सोचना पड़ेगा। प्लांट ब्रीडर्स तो दे देंगे, वैरायटीज़ दे देंगे, मगर हमारा एग्रोनॉमिस्ट्स, सॉइल साइंटिस्ट, उनको भी सोचना पड़ेगा कि प्रोडक्शन एनवायरनमेंट कैसे चाहिए। तो बहुत अच्छा मुद्दा उठाया है। मैं मानता हूं कि ये जो प्रोग्राम यहाँ तेलंगाना में हुआ है, हैदराबाद में हुआ है, एक पंजाब में करना उचित है। पंजाब, हरियाणा, इंडो गैंजेटिक प्लेन में करना चाहिए, क्योंकि वहीं तो अब आजकल हम ग्राउंड वाटर प्रेशर देख रहे हैं, क्रॉप डाइवर्सिफिकेशन की आवश्यकता है, तो ज़रूर एक करेंगे। मैं ये आईआईएम, आप लोग तो सब आईआईएम के हैं, तो डॉक्टर दयाकर राव एंड डॉक्टर मैडम डायरेक्टर वेरिशी, you should now plan to have one next year in North India. That's very important, in Indo-Gangetic Plain. Okay, so all our scientists must move to north to Indo-Gangetic Plain next time. Okay, yeah, आएंगे। इसके बाद आपके पास आएंगे। Yes, आप पूछिए। I think one was there also, one hand I saw. आपका होगा, उसके बाद yours, and then we'll come there. Okay, briefly please. Okay, क्योंकि नेक्स्ट सेशन भी है। वीरेश, नेक्स्ट सेशन इधर ना? ओके। Oh my God. अच्छा, then we see last two questions. We're going to close it now. They have got two more sessions. So sorry. Yeah, quickly.
नमस्कार साहब, मैं फार्मर हूँ, महाराष्ट्र के सोलापुर जिले से आया हूँ।
Okay.
मेरा आज आपको एक सवाल है, एक दो सवाल।
एक
जो
सवाल पूछिए आज। पूछिए।
एक दो सवाल है सर,
हाँ,
कि जो ज्वार
माइक माइक थोड़ा नजदीक रखिए।
ज्वारी बाजरी
हाँ।
उसका एरिया कम हो रहा है। 2020 में मैं 25 एकड़ करता था,
अच्छा,
25-30 एकड़ ज्वार। गए साल से हम 4-5 एकड़ कर रहे हैं। इस साल तो बहुत कम हो रहा है, 2-3 एकड़ हो रहा है। ऐसा पूरे गांव में, हमारे गांव में 1000 एकड़ ज्वार रहता था, गए साल 200-300 एकड़ रह गया। अब इस साल 50-100 एकड़ हो रहा है। इसका कारण है हार्वेस्टिंग के समय बारिश आती है, हर साल बारिश ही थी, ज्वार ब्लैक हो जाता है और गिरता है। और हार्वेस्टिंग करने का अब लेबर लोग
मशीन
नहीं,
ओके।
उसके लिए मशीन चाहिए सर। जब तक मशीन नहीं आती तब तक क्षेत्र एरिया उसका बहुत कम हो रहा है। एक बहुत
गवर्नमेंट तो मांगते हैं, गुड, अच्छा पॉइंट है।
गवर्नमेंट को इसके बारे में सोचना पड़ेगा
ओके।
कि आप मिलेट ईयर और लोग खाएंगे लेकिन उनको नहीं मिलेगा। 2 बरस 3 बरस के बाद ज्वार हमारे यहाँ सोलापुर जिला में पूरा 1 लाख सेक्टर है।
ये हमने मान लिया। नेक्स्ट पॉइंट।
दूसरा पॉइंट सर, उसको लिए छोटी वाली वैरायटी निकलो जो कि हार्वेस्टिंग की हमारे यहाँ बड़ी है। मालदांडी है, बारशी ज्वार है, गुंड है, दगड़ी है, वो बड़ी होती। बारिश वारे के हवा रहती है, गिरती है, इसके लिए हार्वेस्टर नहीं चलता। इसके लिए छोटी वाली ज्वार का रिसर्च
वैराइटीज।
हाँ,
दोनों बहुत अच्छा पॉइंट है। देखिए, मशीनरीज हमको बहुत सारे चाहिए। आजकल लेबर नहीं मिलता है, ठीक टाइम पर नहीं मिलता है लेबर। ये तो एक आयरनी है, हमारे देश में एक लेबर सरप्लस भी है मगर ठीक टाइम पर भी नहीं मिलता है। एग्रीकल्चर तो सीजन बाउंड ऑपरेशन होता है, तो नेचुरली फार्म मैकेनाइजेशन बहुत ज़रूरी है। I will request IIMR and also many other ICR centers are there in Bhopal, etc., where we will certainly take up all these things. और जो दूसरी point, I think you people can look at certificate, that he's telling we need dwarf varieties, otherwise lodging happens, right? And that's a real concern. So ये दोनों हमारे जो भाई शोलापुर से कहा है, क्योंकि शोलापुर तो सोरगम का बेल्ट है, this is important Rabi belt. So thank you very much. The last question.
Sir, here.
Please, quickly.
Yes, sir. So, thank you for the very enlightening talk. Thank you to all the panelists. So, the topic was from food security to nutritional security. And sir mentioned about One Health, and he also mentioned about, soil health. So, I would like to, as all of you would be well aware, I think the most important issue that we need to focus on is, soil degradation. Because it is estimated, UN agencies are estimating that by 2050, 90% of our soil world over will be degraded, and we will have a food scarcity. 40% less food will be available at a time when our world population will be 9.2 billion. So, Sadhguru of the Isha Foundation has done the Save Soil movement recently, where he drove across, 27 countries, 30,000 kilometers. So, I think we need to look at, how we can use millets to improve soil health. Because that is very, very going to be very important, because the world of the future is also going to see civil wars over, the lack of food.
Yeah.
So that is the thing. So if you can shed light on that, how can millets, used to improve soil health as well? So thank you.
Thank you. Very good point. Yes. That's okay. That's it. Okay. So we'll close it here. You have raised a very, very critical issue of soil. Soil medium will continue to be important no matter how much of hydroponics, how much of aeroponics, how much of vertical gardening we are going to promote. The single point that I would like to share with you about soil is, in the last 50 years, we have looked at soil as a physical and chemically dimensioned property, that's all. Whereas soil is to be defined as physical, chemical and biologically influenced structure. The biological property will come from organic carbon. If we don't have organic carbon, we cannot have microorganisms. We cannot have other creatures like earthworms. And out of 85,000 faunal species in our biodiversity, 46,000 are microorganisms, and they are mostly in the soil. We are not providing a conducive environment for our microorganisms. No microorganisms, you cannot have biologically sound, healthy soil. So I think you have raised a very valid point. I think yes, we should appreciate that Sadhguru went around the world drawing attention to the importance of soil. Let's give a big hand to Sadhguru, you know. So thank you very much. I think we will stop here. I know that I'm not of issue. You know, now the veto power is with them, not with me. So, okay, quickly, yeah, because there are 2 sessions, yeah. I think you are, yeah. You should,
हेलो
या बताइए।
सर मैं मैन्युफैक्चरर हूँ मिलेट्स का एंड जो भी मैम ने जैसे बहुत बढ़िया पॉइंट रेज करा एंड देन सर जो मिट्टी के एंड ही इज डूइंग अ ग्रेट जॉब। इन सब का प्रॉब्लम है अंटिल अनलेस गवर्नमेंट अपने मिड डे मील जो इनके फंक्शंस होते हैं उसके अंदर अगर मिलेट्स लेके आ जाती है फॉर ए कंपलसरी मिड डे मील में 2 दिन 3 दिन कंपलसरी कर दीजिए। जो गवर्नमेंट फंक्शंस होते हैं उसके अंदर एटलीस्ट एक लंच या ब्रेकफास्ट या डिनर वॉट एवर इट इज एक प्रोडक्ट आप मिलेट का रख लीजिए। व्हाट विल हैपन इज कि फार्मर्स विल स्टार्ट ग्रोइंग दैट बिकॉज उनको उनका पैसा मिलने लगेगा। वंस दे विल गेट द मनी आउट ऑफ इट तो वो ग्रोइंग सप्लाई डिमांड वाली जो इशू है दे विल स्टार्ट ग्रोइंग इट। सॉइल डिटोरिएशन विल डिक्रीज बिकॉज ऑफ दैट। और जो मिलेट्स का एक चलन जो है बिकॉज जनरली लोग बाग क्या है हेल्दी है तो वो खाते नहीं है बिकॉज इट वोंट बी ए टेस्टी। तो ट्रस्ट मी मैंने बहुत जगहों पे इवेंट्स हमारे जयपुर के अंदर भी हुए थे, लास्ट दिल्ली में भी हुए। मिलेट्स का खाना बहुत टेस्टी बनता है। सो पीपल जब अवेयर होंगे तो वो खाएंगे भी, हेल्थ भी इम्प्रूव होगी, फार्मर्स की इनकम भी इम्प्रूव होगी और गवर्नमेंट की जो सपोर्ट कंजम्पशन पावर है because India is still now driven by government policies. It is not driven by private policies. So government has to play a bigger role in the acceptance and in the awareness of millets.
Sure. Thank you very much. You have suggested the need for a virtuous cycle. We appreciate that. We need to mainstream our millets and so that high volumes are in demand. Thank you very much. So we will stop it here and I'll hand over the mic back to you, Viresh, but before that, let me thank our 4 panelists, Dr. Raj Bhandari, Dr. Aruna, Dr. Tara Satyavati, and Dr. Venkateshwar Bhatt, all of who have created a lot of interest in you for the millets. Thank you very much, all of you. Give them a big hand, please.
So I thank all the panelists and the chair. So I think we can understand millets are as diverse as the panel is. So we have breeders and biotechnologists, economists, medicine, and definitely this session was a confluence of all the good thoughts about millets. We had farmers, we had millet enthusiasts interacting. So thank you very much for this enlightening session. I would now request our Abhirami to give a kid as a token of affection to the chair and the panelists. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Raj Bhandari, sir, thank you very much for your valuable comments. Thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Aruna madam. I thank Dr. J. Stanley sir for giving this token of affection to all the panelists and the chair.